Sean, good morning. How you doing?
Good. Good morning to you.
It's good to have you here in studio, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We were just talking about your background, and it's interesting that you grew up really in Georgia, and that's where you still live, and you were a big Bulldogs fan, still a big Georgia Bulldogs fan. I just went to my first Georgia Bulldogs game a couple of weeks ago when Auburn came to town.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to be between the hedges, always wanted to see Sanford Stadium, always wanted to see Athens. Boy, that is such a fun college football weekend.
You've got to do something I've never did. I've never went to one of their games there at home, which is definitely on the bucket list. I've never got to witness that, so I'm looking forward to my time to go, see them live and catch out that stadium. It's a very cool place to be.
Yeah, the Bulldog Walk is awesome as the players, the band, the cheerleaders comes through. Everybody watches them, and then in between the third and fourth quarter, everybody raises up their cell phones and puts on their flashlight to their cell phones. It kind of rocks in unison. It is such a cool thing. It's part of my digital travel series, the most recent episode of Nomad, and I just had such a great time. When you were growing up, I mean, the Bulldogs were really good, had some really good teams, seemingly always have a really good running back. What do you remember from growing up and being a Bulldogs fan?
Oh, man, Herschel Walker, I guess, would be the main thing. He was they're always big on running backs. At Georgia, they strive on their running backs, and they just year in and year out, they bring the best of the best, and you can see, that's their running team, and it shows that, I don't know where they get all these running backs. If they all come from Georgia, they have a great recruiting team or what, but they always have, a great running back that moves on to the NFL and always does good there as well.
What do you think about Georgia's chances against Alabama? SEC title game coming up this weekend. Going to be a tough test.
That will be a test of all tests for them. Alabama's, they're always good. You can't ever – they don't have a flaw, I don't think. So, It's going to be a good game. I'm definitely going to root for Georgia. One of my best friends, he's a big Alabama fan, so it's going to be fun to give him heck if they do win. And I'd like to rub it down his throat, a little bit anyways.
Sean Willingham joins us here in studio. You have suffered, like most Pro Bowl riders, a litany of injuries. I mean, from a dislocated hip to a broken neck, a torn left groin. That sounds very painful.
Yeah.
Was the torn left groin the most painful out of all of these?
I would say so.
More than the broken neck.
Definitely. The neck wasn't nothing, it never really hurt. I had some pain in my shoulders. I just thought I had one of my top ribs was out of place, was what it felt like, but I had a broken neck. But yeah, by far, I would say that, the growing injury and then going through the surgery. After that growing injury, I was out for, a whole year of competition. That's the longest I've ever been away from the sport with any injury. I was only out 4 months with a broke neck, and then you pull a muscle and have surgery, and it puts you out for a year. And so it was very, it hurt. It wasn't, pain-wise wasn't bad. It was just aggravating, and it took it a long time to heal and to get it back strong enough to be able to ride these animals again. The bulls that are 2,000 pounds, that, to get a hold of it just took a while for it to heal all the way and get it 100%.
I mean, inherently speaking about this sport, you are hopping on a 2,000-pound animal that doesn't want you on their back. And so there's going to be injuries that happen to this. Is there any way to prevent it? I mean, can you build up muscle? Can you be more limber and flexible? Do you need to do yoga? Do you need to do weightlifting? How can you prepare for it?
All of the above. I think, as a bull rider, we need to go through different variables in training. There's some guys that, that don't do any training, but their training is go out. They live on farms, so they'll get on their horses and they'll gather cattle. So that's their training. They're riding a horse, which is almost like riding a bull. They're getting the real action on a live animal and getting the feel of that as well. But then there's other guys that go to the gym, they do yoga, they'll do Pilates and, cardio and do CrossFit and all kinds of different stuff. So now it's just, mostly guys are training harder in the gym other than kind of weeding out the whole cowboy mentality. And it used to be when I first come around, it was all cowboys. Most of the guys lived on farms and they was ranchers, and that was their day-to-day life, was go out and get on their horses and fix fence and all that. But now it's more of a sport to where they're, the bull riders are becoming more athletes, and they're taking that approach, in their training and going to the gym and beating it down in the gym as hard as possible.
When you get into this, it's still the cowboy culture. And so what did you see as part of the cowboy culture? I'm sure you got some great stories about guys behind the scenes and what they were like and the characters you probably were around.
I've seen a lot of different people come and go throughout my career. I've been here for a long time, going on 20 years now at this level.
Wow.
And so I've seen a lot of my heroes, a lot of guys that are inducted to the Hall of Fame. They have Ring of Honors, I used to compete against them. I competed against some of the guys that was part of the 20 guys that separated the sport of bull riding from rodeo and just made it the PBR. I mean, I got to compete against those guys, and now they're all retired. And so I've seen so many people come and go, and everybody's different. They're not the same. You know, some people like to go out and have fun and party every weekend, and then other guys nowadays are, you know, we kind of take it serious to where they don't go out and party as much, and that way they have a clear mind come in to the next day. And
okay, I want to talk about this.
Very strange.
As pro bull rider Sean Willingham joins us in studio. How do you ride bulls hungover? How is that possible?
Oh, man.
That must be the hardest thing ever. The last thing I want to do is get off the couch when I'm hungover, let alone ride a bull.
It's the best hangover cure there is, I tell you that. But I used to think I used to ride better with a hangover.
Really?
But that was just in my head. It's definitely not true in any way, but I used to think that, you know, I guess because my hangover would go away very quick.
Yeah, you got to focus.
All that adrenaline running, you know, it cures you. Like, you can feel totally like you just need to roll over and die. And then you go get on a bull, and then you feel perfectly normal again. It was kind of crazy for me, but I try not to do that anymore now that I'm older. But yeah, you know, when I was younger, that was it's very hard and challenging. But I used to tell everybody I ride better when I'm hungover, and I won a couple major events. And I remember the first major event I ever won. I didn't remember it for like 2 days later. And then I woke up and I'm like, man, I won that bull riding this weekend. Holy cow, I won $56,000 and I don't even remember it. That's amazing.
That's the most profitable hangover you will ever have.
It's true.
You're 37 years old. I'm a little bit older than you. And so I remember back in my glory days of going out late, probably my mid-20s or so, I feel like I was at my peak. For you, mid-20s going out, I'm a beer guy. If you would go out 25 years old or so, you're earning some money, you're a pro bull rider. When you're bellied up to the bar, what are you drinking? Beer, whiskey? What do you
Jack and Coke was my favorite.
Jack and Coke.
But you know, mostly beer would be it. But when I was younger, then was Jack and Coke. That was my favorite because I could go and have 3 or 4, and I'd be good for a while.
Jack and Coke, 3 or 4 Jack and Cokes, and that would get you hungover the next day?
That just get me started.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It would be like more the whole bottle almost. And then, of course, you got your buddies. You know, they all have different things. And then one of my best friends, you know, is now a 2-time world champion in our sport. His go-to drink was always Jaeger Bomb, and I hated drinking Jägermeister, but that was his go-to. So I wanted to, you know, we was buddies, and so we would just share. And I think that's what caused mostly the hangover.
I could understand that. Who's the meanest bull you ever rode?
The meanest bull, I would have to go with one called Reindeer Dipping.
Tell me about Reindeer Dipping.
He was just psycho. He was psychotic, and he was crazy. You never knew what he was going to do. He was an outstanding bull. He would have the most amazing out ever and would score 47 points out of 50 for his side. And then other days he would go and he'd be 37 out of 100.
So he was unpredictable.
You never knew what he was going to do, but it was always going to be wild and happen fast. And he was very, very mean.
He was mean?
Mean and little and quick.
And violent.
And nobody wanted to get on him. I didn't even want to get on him, but sometimes it just kind of fell in your lap. You didn't have a say-so, and on a random draw, they just draw you what you get, and then you got to get on him.
Do you get a card before the event to see if Reindeer Dipping is on the card, and then you're like, oh.
Well, he's retired now, thank goodness.
But when he was on?
Yeah, it was just a random draw. You know, he was always in our championship round, which is the best 15 bulls that we have that weekend. He was always in that selection, and so they would draw the bulls in order. So if I come back in the 10th spot, you know, he would be number 10, then you'd have that bull. So you try to position yourself around that one, but sometimes it just fell under your name and you had to get on him anyways.
Oh, man. You guys are coming through New York City, Madison Square Garden, January 4th through January 6th. That's the weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Tickets are available, Ticketmaster.com. Tickets start as low as $17, which is so awesome. I was asking you before, is there a difference with a New York crowd versus when you do this in more traditional bull riding areas of the country?
Yeah, I agree. I think so. People here in New York, they seem like the crowd is very loud. They're very entertaining.
We're obnoxious people.
They keep us going. You know, the better we ride, the louder they get. So here in New York, you see a lot of guys ride a lot more bulls than we normally do, just because the crowd's behind us, and we feed off their energy. So their energy's always up here in New York. I guess it's, they don't see it much, but once a year. And so they're expecting the PBR to come back every year, and they're looking forward to it. So they bring their A game, and they scream loud and cheer for us, and we love it.
I love that the PBR comes through Madison Square Garden, because if I go to a Knicks game or go to some type of concert over there, it's always Wall Street types and pretty people and women that don't want to get anything on their dresses or whatnot, don't mess up their makeup. And then the Pro Bull Riding Tour comes through, and it's like, all right, let's get real here. Let's get guys on top of angry animals getting bucked off into the dirt. That's what it's really about. I love that.
That's it. And you still get those same people coming to watch the bull riding. I think they let their hair down and like, okay, we don't care to get dirty because this is professional bull riding at its best, and we're going to go watch it.
That's awesome. Sean Willingham joining us here in studio as you guys get set for the Professional Bull Riders Buck Off at the Garden coming up early January. If you need a couple of bars, we can send you to a couple of good places here. I don't know if you want that anymore in your career, but we can get you guys all set up.
Cool, perfect. There's a lot of them younger kids that I'm sure they would love that. They'll go out and have a good time and enjoy New York City.
That's a nice-looking hat. I don't think I could pull that one off, right. But a guy that was born in Norman, Oklahoma, that grew up in Georgia, you definitely can pull that off.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looks good on the web stream, I can tell you that right now.
Right? Perfect.
Sean Willingham joining us. You can get tickets for the upcoming Professional Bull Riders Buck Off at the Garden, Madison Square Garden, at Ticketmaster.com. And then that's when the tour begins. And you guys start January, then run right through May for the early circuit of the year, right?
Yeah, we go every weekend starting up until May, and then we have a few months break from our major tour. But our minor league level, the Velocity Tour will be going all year long, as well as the Touring Pro Division, to give guys points, to give them opportunity to get in the top 35 to join the Elite Tour.
That's awesome, man. Sean, thanks for dropping by.